at the Ohio State Fair with Dr. Edward Laskowski.
You know, Ohio State Fair, this is great. We got a lot of families out here, which is wonderful, because that's one of the key things in fitness is to get your family involved. You know, moms and dads, you guys as parents, you are role models, and your kids are going to do what you do. You think of principles that you teach them. You say, well, boy, you know, you guys should be honest, but then the phone rings and you say, well, tell them I'm not home. What does that say to the kids? So, mom and dad, if you tell them to get in shape, you know the problems we're having with obesity and kids and adults, and you say, yeah, get in shape, but we're not doing it ourselves, they're not going to listen as much. So, fitness is really a family activity. So, easy ways to get it integrated into your life. In our family, we like to take walks after dinner instead of sitting around the table talking. Just get outside, walk together, talk about the day's events. We like to use the term activity instead of exercise, because any kind of activity is good. It doesn't have to be in a gym environment with a certain uniform on for a certain amount of time. The more you can accumulate activity throughout the day, the better. It all adds up. Some studies have found that 3 10-minute sessions of exercise are as good for your heart as one 30-minute session. So if you can accumulate that through the day, better off you can be. In the work environment, if you have a little bit of time in lunch hour, walk a little bit then, maybe walk a little bit before work, walk a little bit when you get home. If you like to watch a news show or a favorite TV show, watch it while you're riding a stationary bicycle, or watch it while you're on the treadmill. If you like to read, get a stand for your stationary bike that you can put a book on. So many ways in which you can weave activity into your life.
We're at the State Fair where there's lots of, quote, good food. So what do we do as Americans, especially with our food intake?
You know, I think one of the main problems we have as a country is portion size. You know, the documentary Supersize is really true. Everything is supersized now. So one of the most important things you can do is control your portions. And I'm going to tell you something that sounds weird, but you got to eat more. But you got to eat more vegetables and fruits. You want at least 5 servings a day of vegetables and fruits. Serving size, about the size of your hand is a good size that you can think of for the amount of vegetables, amount of fruit you can eat. But those are the things you want to eat more of. You want to eat less saturated fat, certainly no trans fat, and less calories as a whole. We just, as a country now, the portion sizes are so much bigger than they were even 20 years ago. So if you go out to eat at a restaurant, there are more and more healthier choices now. But also with your meal, just split it in half or split it in thirds, and then you got lunch the next day or some leftovers too.
What about the kids, Dr. Laskowski? There are a lot of kids here at the fair, and they are walking, but maybe they're not running as often as they should or playing outdoors as much as they should.
You know, childhood activity is so key. We're now in a society where we have a lot of TV watching, a lot of computer games, and that's keeping people inside. It's keeping people from getting the activity that they need. Childhood obesity, big problem. And what we're finding now, if you're overweight as a kid, you have a 70 to 80% chance likelihood of being overweight as an adult. So huge problem. So we really want to nip that in the bud. So things you can do. Number one, mom and dad, you're in control. Turn off the TV. Limit the video game time. Or use technology as your friend. You know, there's a lot of neat technology out that involves activity. So games like the Wii Fit or Wii games where you can actually get up and get moving while you're interacting with the video. Those are good things. Things like Dance Dance Revolution where you're dancing, but you're getting your body moving. You're not just watching it. So using the technology for you is one way to do it, and then just not as much of the technology. So turning off the TV, getting outside, playing with friends, simple stuff. It doesn't have to be a sport. It can be, but if you just like to, younger kids run outside, play tag, play hide and seek, any activity is good, and it all adds up.
A lot of this is common sense.
You know, there's a saying that common sense isn't too common anymore. So we've had a few things in our culture, technology one of them, that's really kind of changed the way we do things. So there was actually a study that showed that if you just take away a remote control TV changer, you can burn about 200 calories more a week just getting up and down and changing the channel. But that's just one example of how technology in our lives has made us more sedentary. So we kind of have to think about activity a little bit more. But if we can kind of weave the things we do, the activity things we do, into our normal life, that's what makes it easy, and it doesn't seem so burdensome. So you like to mow the lawn, or you mow the lawn. I mow the lawn pretty fast. I got to push more, but I just go pretty fast when I do it. So that gives me my activity kind of combines two things at the same time. So again, you're going to the store. If you got one close to you, walk to it. If you park the car further away, if you take the bus to work even, take the bus to a stop that's a little bit away from your work so you can walk a little bit to work in the morning.
So it's not so overwhelming. We don't just automatically think we have to join a fitness club that's going to require we're in 5 classes a week.
Exactly. I mean, you really want to make activity part of your lifestyle and healthy eating part of your lifestyle too. And that's good food choices, good portion size, good portion control. I think, again, integrating as a family is very important because you get everybody on board. And again, parents, you guys are role models for your kids. What you will do is what they will tend to do. So if you model that stuff in your life, you're going to tend to pass on a legacy of activity in your kids. But the thing is, again, like you say, health clubs are good. There's nothing wrong with them. And some people really get energized in that environment. They like that environment. That's a good thing. But a lot of people say, I don't like, I have to drive 30 minutes to get to my health club, 30 minutes back, and I'm just doing that to get active. You don't have to do that. So any activity you can get during the day for your strength training, you can use tubing, you can use free weights at home, soup cans, you can use your body weight. A lot of different ways that you can do that. We have a website called mayoclinic.com where we actually take you through strength, flexibility exercises that you can do. Technique is really important. The way you do things is really key. It's not just doing it, but it's doing it right. And we take you through on the website what you need to know for the proper strength training, for proper flexibility, and how to do it the right way to get you the most benefit.
Now the Olympics are just weeks away. What about those couch potatoes that are watching the Olympics, and what are the Olympians going through as they train? Those athletes are training for their special sport.
Yeah, the Olympics are a neat event because it gets people thinking about the human potential, really. And you see those athletes and how fast they can run, how high they can jump, and the performance, the movement patterns that they can perform. You're just amazed, And that of course is years of dedicated practice. But I think it's a good thing because it gets us to think about just activity in general and what we can do in our own lives. We may not be an Olympian, and that's not our goal, but we can kind of use them as a model of dedication and consistency. And those are 2 things every Olympian has, is you really have to be dedicated to your sport and want to do the things necessary to improve in your sport. And you have to be consistent. You really can't have an Olympian who's training 2 months a year and 10 months off. They're really steady. And that's what we say for the average person too. We say consistency is more important than intensity. It's just important to get out there and do stuff and do it regularly. You don't have to be sweating bullets and in a sport for 80 minutes a day or running marathons, but just doing something regularly is the key.
Let's talk about the Olympics for a moment. Your specialty, could you describe more of what you do at Mayo Clinic?
Well, at the Mayo Clinic, we have a sports medicine center, and we have orthopedists and people in my specialty called physical medicine and rehabilitation. And we treat a lot of musculoskeletal problems. Those are problems to the muscles and the joints and the tissues. So many times there's injuries in sports. Sports are played at the extreme of human performance. So everybody's trying their best, so things may happen despite the amount of conditioning, despite the amount of preparation. So what we do is try and, number one, keep injuries from happening, and there are ways to do that. There's some studies out there that show that even the way someone lands from jumps can influence their risk for a knee injury. ACL is a pretty common ligament that you may hear in the knee, and when you tear it, it doesn't heal very well, usually requires surgery in an athlete. There are some ways to kind of protect yourself from getting that injury, both exercises that you can do and also jump training, kind of landing and training for your specific sport. We have a saying that we say you shouldn't play your sport to be in shape, you should be in shape to play your sport. That means every sport has specific muscles involved, specific movement patterns involved. And the more you can kind of prepare yourself for that by good conditioning of those tissues, then when you get into the sport, not as much of a change. Your muscles are used to what they're going to receive when you exercise, and less risk of injury.
Excellent. Thank you so much for spending time with us at the Ohio State Fair.
My pleasure.
We'll see who else is down there in the crowd.
Not too many corn dogs now.
See if anyone's exercising. There we go.